I want to go back to my favorite story yesterday, the transgender mice. The reason I wish to revisit the transgender mice is this exchange between Van Jones and Scott Jennings on CNN.
It's not all indiscriminate. I mean, we don't really need the transgender mice, do we? I mean,
That's not even real.
It is real. I'm
No,
sorry, man.
No,
it's
no,
real.
It's not. No, listen.
Is it real or not?
Hey, hold on a second.
Did we have to say it was real or not?
No, hold on.
It's real.
I mean, Musk was a shield.
How about the
It's a real thing.
No,
So,
hold on.
look, my point is,
listen. What they weren't talking about trans.
don't defend the mice.
No. Listen, you don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about it. But it wasn't transgender. It was a different term that was misinterpreted as transgender. They were actually doing basic medical experiments on mice to figure out.
Don't spoil a good troll.
It's just not true.
Jennings is having a good troll.
I'm
Don't
just
spoil
saying,
it.
here's the point. They have found some things.
Yes.
And the greatest public relations advice I could give them is this. You found stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to find more stuff. And there's going to come a point where you could take this to the Congress and have a really good hearing and a really good public display. That is the next iteration.
I agree with that.
Okay, so when I mentioned this yesterday, a lot of progressives replied to me essentially saying, you idiot, you got played. What they found was transgenic research, not transgender research. It was studying Alzheimer's. It wasn't studying transgenderism. Because that's what the New York Times reported, and that's what CNN reported, and that's what every other media outlet reported. And all of those outlets have now had to issue corrections to say, guess what? Donald Trump was actually right. There actually was transgender research on mice and transgenic research on mice. And the Trump administration did not stop the funding for transgenic research, but did stop the transgender research. And yet this is part of the problem. So the left, in their echo chamber, online and off, they see this stuff ridiculing Trump from supposed fact checkers. The fact checkers got it wrong. They corrected it. And now, multiple days later, when I'm pointing out that, yes, in fact, there's transgender research on mice, the left's like, no, there is not. You're wrong. That was fact checked. It's not true. And yes, it was fact-checked. They said it was not true, and they have had to correct themselves, not me, because it turns out it's true. There was transgender research on mice. Specifically, they were injecting mice with high doses of hormones related to gender transitions to see the effects on the mice. You know what their new spin is? That it's not transgender research, it's gender-affirming research. I'm not making that up. That's actually their defense now. That no, it's still wrong. It's gender-affirming research, not transgender research. They can't admit when they're wrong. And the media plays into this. And they scream very loudly at people, and yet they're the ones who are wrong. I'm getting lectured on the internet by people who can't keep up with the news. And they've doubled down dogmatically. God bless Van Jones. I like Van. Van is a nice guy. I know Van. Van is wrong. It was not transgenic research. He wanted to say it was transgenic research. That's what was originally reported. But no, there actually was. CNN itself has had to correct its website and correct its original report, fact-checking Donald Trump to say, actually, it turns out Donald Trump was right. There was transgender research on mice. You know, the left very smugly likes to say that it is reality-based. It's certainly alternate reality-based at this point. They don't know how to proceed. The other day I mentioned some scripture about humility. Both sides can take it. Put others ahead of yourself. Stop worrying about your own ambition. Learn to be content to a degree. I myself need that advice sometimes, learning to be content with where I am and what I have. The blessings given as opposed to the blessings not or not yet given. Right now, the left, they need some level of group therapy. There's something not right. And it hadn't been right for a while, but it's starting to metastasize in worse ways. They're starting to turn towards violence and calls for violence. They're fantasizing about the death of the president. It's not healthy in that headspace. So there's this thing, and I find it very dumb, but there is a level of social media influencer, and I follow some of these guys online. You know what the big thing is now? It's to manifest. Manifest your wealth. I've been trying to manifest a private jet for a while, and it hadn't worked. Manifest your life. You imagine so hard in your head the life you're going to lead, it just takes on a life of its own, and it comes to fruition. In the old days, like a decade ago, it would be your inner monologue. Is it negative or positive? You watch, I've mentioned this before, you watch Full Swing on Netflix, the episode on Wyndham Clark from the second season, how negative he was to himself, and he hired a sports therapist who basically is like, you're talking down to yourself. Stop doing that. And part of it is embracing what you have and realizing how good you have it. It's really hard for people who obsess over politics, particularly when they're on the losing team, to appreciate how good they have it. But just can we for a moment pause and think how good we have it as the United States of America? We have enough money as a nation to research transgender mice. We don't actually have enough money. That's why they're cutting it. But, I mean, we as a nation are doing quite well. For all of our problems, we're still the best nation. For all of our problems, we are economically the most productive nation. For all of our problems, we have the best employment in the world. We have the best job structure in the world. We have the best university system in the world, even with all of its problems. We have we have just the best of everything in this country. And yet people aren't happy. By the way, people aren't happy on either side of the aisle. People on the left and the right both want to view themselves as victims. There are real victims in the world, and it's real hard for people sometimes to recognize that their deciding to be a victim is a choice. There are real victims in the world who have been physically abused, spiritually abused, verbally abused. And then there are a whole lot of people who view themselves as victims who aren't. They've chosen to be victims. Get back to this manifest talk, this manifesting in their headspace, this manifesting your destiny, manifest destiny for people, not for the nation. This manifest, we're going to manifest the riches, we're going to manifest the job, we're going to manifest our future, we're going to manifest our spouse, our ideal spouse and our kids. No, you got to go out and find it. You got to go work for it. But part of the talk about manifesting is you get into your own headspace and you have a positive vision for your future and you work to get there. What people on the left and the right are doing, particularly the more they worship politics instead of God, is they have this negative conversation that they're a victim. The other side has been mean to them, and it's payback time. The other side has been mean to them, and there's no way for them to advance. There's no way for them to improve their lives. Everything is out to get them. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that is good. I don't think that is wise. And yet there's a lot of it happening out there right now. There's a whole lot of it happening. If I could just offer the left some advice, and those of you on the right who view yourselves as victims of the left, go outside into the real world. Turn off Twitter. Turn off the news. Don't just go outside and walk on some grass and touch some grass. Go hang out with your neighbors in your community. Go spend time with your physical neighbors. If you live in an apartment, do you know the people next door to you? You know the people across the hall from you? If you live in a house, do you know your neighbors? If you live out where you have no neighbors, are you involved in your local community? Are you involved in a local nonprofit? Are you involved in a local charity? Are you involved in a local church? You know what the data says? The people most involved in a local religious community are the happiest people. You know the unhappiest people in a religious community? The ones whose religious community has turned into a political community. There are a lot of churches out there, mainline denominations, United Methodist Church, the Episcopalians, the PCUSA, where they're just a reflection of the world around them. Those people are bitterly unhappy. Why even bother to go to church if you don't think God is really real and the resurrection's real and all that? You're just wasting your time. You can sleep in on a Sunday. Go find a church where they actually believe the miracles of the Bible. Go find a church where they actually believe in a physical resurrection. Get involved with those people. They're happy. Do you know why they're happy? Because they've read to the end of the book, and they know they're on the winning team. And so all of the victimization of this world, they can't be victims. God's on their side. As we have substituted politics for religion, it's not a coincidence that despair has risen, depression has risen, anger has risen, despondency has risen, that this feeling of out of touch and disconnectedness from community has risen. All of these things have risen because we have become disconnected from a community of faithful believers in our own community. Go to church, people. Go to synagogue. Go to mosque. Go to temple. Be around people who find joy in eternity, because life's not fair. Life's not fair. When you turn politics into your religion, you're allowing politicians to control your emotional state. That's why so many people on the left and right are miserable, because there are a lot of people on the right who they speak a good religious game, but in their daily lives and their practical application of their lives, they are as politically attuned as the people on the left, and they're far more plugged into their local politics than they are their local church, and they are letting the politicians of Washington, D.C. affect their emotions for better or worse. If you believe the world can come to an end because of an American political election, you're an idol worshiper. And you need to go get plugged into the reality of your community where people don't care so much about politics. And calm down. You, unless you've been physically abused by someone, unless you're the victim of a real crime, you're probably not really a victim. You've just chosen to take on a victim mentality in the same way that people want to identify and use their pronoun game to make themselves individualistically stand out with their purple hair and their barista look. A lot of people choose to be a victim because they want to be defined in some way that sets them apart. And if they can choose to be a victim in some capacity with a victimizer who is abstract in Washington, D.C., it sets them apart from all the people around them. I am a victim. Hear me. I have a moral claim because I'm a victim. And 9 times out of 10, you're just a sociopath, a megalomaniac, or a narcissist. You're not a victim. You just want attention. Stop trying to get attention from people and go give other people attention, and you'll improve your own worldview and mental health. Stop trying to be a victim unless you really are one. And 9 times out of 10, real victims are far less victimized than the people who are the pretend victims who want attention. Again, stop trying to get attention. Go give other people attention. You'll improve the world and your own mental health.